Hi, Jim. Hi, Jack.
Jack's here. Yeah, Jim.
And there's Trish.
Trish is coming up. There she is. Hi, Trish.
Hi, Trish. It's Jack. Welcome.
I see you there.
It took me a few times to get on, but I'm on now, so that's great.
Yeah,
I saw you coming and going, Jack. I didn't
Yeah.
understand that.
That's Jack. He comes and
I didn't
goes.
either, but I'm here, so that's good.
Okay.
I think I'll probably just skip through at this point. I think everybody has heard our introductions,
Okay.
who we are. Want everybody to sign up for our newsletter and suggest future projects and find us on Facebook. And donations are always welcome. We're an all volunteer group of seniors. 100% of donations received are used to directly help seniors. And you can designate Scotts Valley Senior Life Association as your favorite charity when you shop through Amazon. So does everybody do that when they shop through Amazon? Do you pick a charity?
Yep.
I do.
Okay.
I just have it set up so it's automatic. Yeah.
Good. Awesome. So, and one of the programs, one of the projects in Scotts Valley that we're all excited about and that we're throwing our support behind is the new Scotts Valley Performing Arts Center. It's supporting the Scotts Valley Community Theater Guild. And I think you're involved. Are you involved with that, Trish?
Yes, I am. I'm on the board, and I'm I think the only existing board member who's been on the full. How many years? I don't want to say, from beginning to now. Others have been on quite a long time, but I've been on the longest.
Yeah. Trish is a mainstay of that board.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And we actually, I don't know if you're aware, we did one of our programs a couple of months ago was all about that.
That was great.
So, and we have that posted on our Zoom, on our YouTube page.
Yes. In fact, we our Theater Guild website has a link to that video on it. And people have viewed it. Going to our website, they've viewed your video, so it was great.
Oh, good. Excellent. All right. So, and just so people know, we are recording this presentation. If you don't want to be recorded, you can block your video and we won't know who you are. We won't be able to track you down. And let's see, what else are we doing here? And as I mentioned, today's featured speaker is Trish Black Melehan, poet, teacher, and Scotts Valley Arts Commissioner. And she's going to be talking about Journey Fantastique, Verse in Many Voices, a book that she's written about a collection of poems inspired by the artwork of James Aschbacher. It's a reading and talk about the journey to create and publish the book. And so with that, we'll turn it over to Trish and you can share your screen and get started.
All righty, I will start with, oh, can you see? I don't think you can see that yet, huh? Share the screen.
Not yet.
There we go.
Share screen and you should pop up.
Is it shared yet? Oh, wait. Hold on. There we go.
There we are.
So that's the cover
There it
page
is.
of my book. It was a long time in the making. I first met James Aschbacher around 15 years ago. And I walked into his open studios with a friend. And I recognized his work because his style is so unique. And I had seen some of his work around town, and in the bookshops, I'd seen greeting cards and things that he had done. And I remembered his name, and I looked at the work and I said, oh, that's that guy. Well, I thought that guy was probably about 25 years old when I had seen his work, because it was so imaginative and just very young, positive, uplifting. And James, of course, was not. He was close to my age. And we started talking, and I started going back, and I had just recently retired from teaching and was going to do other things with my life. And my mother had Alzheimer's and needed a lot of care. And anyways, I had written some poems that I had tried, and had written poems all my life, here and there, once a year maybe. But I thought, hey, it'd be nice to do something with James. And he said, that's a good idea. I showed him some of my poems. He said, yes, why don't you take one of my paintings and see if you can write a poem for it? So I had never really done anything like that before. My poems usually came out of my own head. But I said, okay, I'll try. And I wrote a couple based on 2 or 3 of his paintings, and he liked them. And from there, the project took forth. I would pick out a painting and write a poem about it. Now, he never said, oh, this painting is about, this is the theme I want you to write your poem about, because he left everything up to me. And I sort of would write the poem. It sometimes would take me a month to write one poem. Then I'd show it to him and he'd like it. So he'd say, that's great, let's use that one. And then Jim, my husband, took photos of the paintings, most all of the paintings. There were 2 or 3 that he had already sold when I was looking through his portfolio, but I loved them so much I really wanted to use them. So Jim did not take pictures of those, but most of them, my husband took the pictures. And I sort of took a long time, and it started being on the back burner of my life. And every time I'd see him, I'd say, I'm going to get the book published. And he'd say, sure you are. Yeah, let's do it. But then we went traveling one year, just 3 years ago. We were overseas and we came back, and Jim put a newspaper in front of me and said, read this, you're not going to like it. And I saw that James had passed away. And that was really devastating. So anyways, that was the impetus for me to get serious. And it's taken about 3 years since then to finally get the job complete. So I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I think James would have been very happy as well. I did originally write these poems in a single voice. And I think it was 2013, I developed a little show with 12 of the 18 photos that I have, or images and poems that I have. And in order to provide my actors with real characters, I broke the poems into mini voices and had a production at Bethany called Journey Fantastique, Art and Poetry in Motion. Because of course the actors, they did more than, recite their voices. They had gestures and movements and things like that. But James liked all the voices and the characters, so that's why they remain in this book. I think that's a pretty good brief, and history of the book. Does anyone have any questions? Or I was planning to read about, I think, 7 or 8 of these poems for you folks. And actually, Dave Hodgen has agreed to be a second voice in some of them. So if you don't have any questions, I guess we can go on to the reading.
All right.
All righty. So I will change my screen to this. And I will get rid of this. Move it up here. Okay. So I will start with the first image and poem. James had his own names for his paintings, and sometimes I kept his name for my poem, and sometimes I changed the name of my poem to veer a little bit off from what the name he had given to his poem. But this first one is he called The Reader, and I changed it to History, His Story. And it has several voices, and most of the voices in my book have there's some literary allusion to them, and you may, as a reader or a listener, know who these characters are. But they're usually from some kind of literary piece, if not from just a family name. Before there were written words, there were stories told in spoken words from one year to another, told from memories as solidly stored as those imprinted now on silicon chips. Then there were beautiful pictures, breath brushed across the walls of caves, the faces of rock, braided into baskets, burned into hides, brilliantly embossed upon the bark of trees, the bones of prey that helped to tell the stories. But some of the details were bound to be forgotten or misunderstood. When writing was invented, it was thought a type of magic, and its secrets, sacred and strange, were closely held, kept from all but the privileged few. Those who could read possessed an uncommon gift of power. So it remained for thousands of years. He wants to learn the lessons of the ages, pondering in silence as he sits and turns the pages, perhaps meeting the great ones who lived before, listening to their own words, revealing their lore. He wants to glimpse an ho-hum creature from an aha point of view, to grasp a distant dream with its translucent hue. Some words will feed his fantasies, they may soothe his fears, with tales of circus dogs and proud pioneers. He wants to lose himself, to laugh madly and cry, to take colorful journeys that money can't buy, reveling in the turns of a rich, twisting text, wondering keenly what wonders will come next. Someone kindly taught this one how to read, so he can travel for a lifetime wherever words will lead. Oh, that's funny. I was reading a book last night and I was laughing up a storm and waking up my husband. It was so... Does anyone have any comments or questions before we move on?
I have a question, Trish.
Yes.
I have a copy of your book, which I love. And
Oh, good.
did all of his artwork have animals or a sense of history in them? Did they all touch on those topics? Because I seem to see that in a lot of what he's done.
You know, I can't say that. I certainly don't think history or reading was a main theme of his, but he did usually have some kinds of animals in his paintings, and often he had people, and he had some stylized ways of portraying people, and he had some stylized glyphs that went around, like where I'm putting my cursor. This particular painting, one reason I chose it, I loved it, and I liked the theme. Of course, I could see myself writing a poem for it, but this was a huge painting. You see, the one thing about my book is they all look about the same size,
Yeah.
but this was a very large painting, and it was on wood, and it did not have some of his more stylistic, elements to it. These glyphs, he calls them glyphs, and other people have called them glyphs. That is common to his work. And if you'll notice over here, and I'll point it out on some others, I think all of the animals that he does have a little heart. There's a little heart there. And the people as well, but this little person doesn't have a heart. I'm not sure why. But yes, I think animals were common in his paintings, although there are plenty of other, I've seen plenty of other pieces of his work that do not have animals in it. There's a beautiful, I really wanted to buy it, but I just couldn't. It was large, and I'm pretty sure it was something like a cathedral, and it was amazing, but it was just a cathedral, and then he's done some with a, sort of landscape, maybe without main animals in them or people, but usually maybe there'd be a little animal on the side or somewhere. So
okay. My favorite artist is a lady named Heidi Vaughn, and she does little clay animals a lot, and they're there's a sense of history to them, but they're fun animals, and I see that in this. And so his work reminds me of what she does with clay, just because the fanciful approach to animals. So
yeah, whimsical.
And just one of the comment, I love being an anagrams person. I love history and then his story. You didn't change the order of the letters, but it's really nice.
Yes, I fudged a little bit there, but anyways, well, we will move on then to another one, where I'm going to back up and go up and down. So you'll see some of the paintings and the poems I'm not going to share with you today. But this little one is, it's funny because this painting is one of the first, my friend purchased this the very time that we first met, James. I think it was the first time, I'm pretty sure. At any rate, she had twins. And if you see the little boy and the little girl there, and she loved this painting because it really represents a boy and a girl that are about the same age. So in her life, twins. And I took this painting, and I had sung a little lullaby that I made up to my kids, to my babies when they were little. And my second son was 3.5 when we adopted our daughter, and she was a baby. And so I would rock them on my lap, and I made up this little song or chant or however you want to call it, and I just expanded on it a little bit to make this poem. But so I'm going to sort of chant it in the tune that I made up.
Can you turn that off? Because it's hard for us to.
Can I turn it
So
that I can just see their words,
You can use headphones if you want.
Okay.
What are you watching?
A meeting. Can you show me?
Wait, what is this anyway?
Hey, dude, come on. Look
Here,
at
take
I gotta do this now. I can't mess around with that.
Well, he's just showing me how to do it. Thank you very much.
Okay, I will go on then. So this is 3 voices. There's 3 voices in this poem: the father, the little boy, and the little girl. It's going to be read in one voice. 2 babies rocking on a lap, getting ready for a nap. One sits here and one sits there, rocking in the chair. Rocking and a going nowhere. 2 babies bobbing on a boat, getting ready for to float. One bob's here and one bob's there, bobbing on the waves so fair. bobbing, 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 and a going somewhere, somewhere, somewhere. Two babies drifting down a stream, getting ready, ready for a dream, dream, dream. One drifts here and one drifts there, drifting, drifting, drifting in the clear, fresh air. Drifting, 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 and a going elsewhere, elsewhere, elsewhere. Two babies sailing on a ship, getting ready, ready for a trip, trip, trip. One sails left and one sails right. Sailing, sailing, sailing till they're far from sight. Sailing, 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 and a feeling, all right, all right, all right. Okay, so the
That's
babies
fun.
like
I like
the
that.
babies liked it. The babies liked
bet
it
they
because one got to go one place and the other got to go a different place. All right, so the next one I have here, I'm going to ask, this is called Journey Fantastique. So it's kind of the title page or the title painting of the book. And I'm going to ask Dave to help me with this because Dave is quite the, he has a great voice. And so there are several characters in this poem. And Dave is going to take the major character, Mr. Potamus Transporticus. And so his voice will be Mr. Potamus Transporticus, and I'm going to take all the other roles in the poem. You can't read this is one of the two paintings in the book that take up both pages. So, Dave, would you like to begin? Journey Fantastique.
I am a commodious cargo beast of certain future fame. Mr. Potamus Transporticus is my scientific name. I live behind the fenny fog of 5 waterfalls of whimsy, formed from the rains of yesteryear, a veil timeless, yet so flimsy. Then you, perchance, might wander into my unusual domain.
To see through your transparent eyes and convoluted brain?
Behind that filmy fabric of penetrable mist lies my brave and curious realm that fancy freely kissed. You'll find no imaginary borders or divisive boundaries here. We don't need such limits in this, our peaceful sphere. Let me then disarm you with my playful, clever charms. No need for fearful tremblings, or the sounding of alarms. I'll swiftly swallow you up whole. There's room for all your friends too. Just sit back and relax, my dears. There's nothing more to do. I'll be pleased to guide you.
On fantastic, fun-filled rides?
You'll have the place of honor within my comfortable insides. Oh, the wonders you will see on your jaunting trips within me.
To lands where all the animals dwell as happy as can be?
You'll be surprised.
A fox's best friend can be a fat goose. A red-breasted robin can be a masseuse. Dogs climb trees to play hide and seek with the squirrels. Families of fish fly through the air in whirls, pursuing the perfect stream. It's a stream. To see freshly unhatched eggs walk about on weak wobbling legs, and reindeer taking flight on high, giving the birds a lift in the sky. You'll see tall African herbivores from dry, sunny grasslands befriend squat Asian omnivores from wet, dewy woodlands.
Come with me, your cordial cargo beast,
Of certain future fame?
to provide safe passage for your dreams is my peculiar game. But when you sadly tire,
Of this journey fantastique?
there's no need to plot a bold escape.
It's part of your mystique?
When you request you leave politely, tapping one tickle on my tummy slightly, I'll squeeze you out with laughing ease with one resounding shaking sneeze. So travelers, go back where you came from. They'll never believe you, to be sure, but you'll not soon forget the cargo beast. my strange land and our allure.
Okay. So we see lots of animals in this picture, of course. And looking at, I love the picture. Writing that poem, that might have been one of the ones that took a month, but I finally got it together. But this is the little, of course, cargo beast, Mr. Potamus Transporticus. The fun thing about being a poet, you get to make up words. Any questions about this? Most of the elements in my verse you can find in the actual images. And notice the little hearts in all the animals.
Right.
Even the
Yes,
bird has a
they all
heart.
have hearts, yes.
They all have hearts.
Mhm.
And here, this is the border. Most of his paintings had this kind of border with these glyphs. And I did not know this until fairly recently when I was speaking to Lisa Jensen, his wife. The plus sign was always on the left. So and the rumor has it that none of these mean anything. So I have not been able to refute that rumor to this point. All righty.
They
So
have
now,
an,
what?
well, I was gonna say, they have a Native American feel to them, to me anyway.
Yes, they do. I agree.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
I
then,
think, well, they're primitive. African also, they
right.
have some African look to them, but and they're I certainly would call them primitive, but the sentiment is just really uplifting, I think. So now we're going to go to another one here. This one, and Dave is going to help me with this. So if my phone stops ringing, I'll wait for a second. This one is called Happy to See You Again is the name of the painting. Notice she's, of course, got her little heart, and she's more of this was stylized character in many of his paintings. You'll see some of the characters look very much like her with the hair and the little village or houses, and often the flying fish you'll see. And look at this little guy over here. But this is the main character. These are the two main characters for this poem. And so Dave and I are going to share these two poems with you. They're really one and the same poem from two different perspectives. So I think Dave is going to start.
You are my rising sun, my stunning star, my Mona Lisa smiling moon at midnight.
You are my class clown doing tricks at the end of a dull day. You are my youngest child, clever, captivating.
You are my childhood friend, my lifelong friend, my first and second love.
My mystery man, making yourself known in nonverbal ways. You are the only one who truly understands me. My first and second.
It's you I look for, only.
You are my first and second love, I think. Is
Yeah, I was waiting for when others failed miserably here, but
okay. Yes,
okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. You stand out in a crowd and of look-alike faces. It's you I see. It's you I look for, only you.
You are the only one who truly understands me. When others fail miserably, I can feel your watchful eyes following me.
When I see,
yeah, go ahead.
When I see you, my heart leaps like a dolphin coming up for air.
When I see you, I feel connected, like a telephone with a long distance call coming through.
I need you to give me what I need. Without you, I would easily starve. I could never fend for myself because I've never needed to.
I need you to let me fuss over you and call you pet names. Without you, the night would be colder, my solitude more penetrating.
I will never find you boring or dull. My ears pick up at a single word from you. Your every move interests me.
You make me laugh because you are so eager to perform. I love our leisure strolls together in the forest, with you pointing out all the most pleasing places.
I cannot refrain from following you around the house. I'm not sure what I'm waiting for, but I know it will come from you.
You stood out in a crowd of sad faces, waiting for someone to take you home.
You are my gatekeeper, my master chef, my reigning monarch, and I am your dog.
You are my steadfast friend, my fiercest defender, my lost and found treasure from the pound, and I am your food bringer.
Mm.
The two characters here are Mr. Mysterious and Mrs. Empty Nester.
Mm.
Any questions? Comments?
I was just thinking that it's the two personalities that just fit so well together. It's really, they're so complementary. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you. Well, yes, they're supposed to be the two characters in the, the painting.
Oh,
We have the Mrs. Empty Nester and Mr. Mysterious, making himself known in nonverbal ways.
huh.
Okay, so let's see here. Now we're going to go to this one. This is probably my favorite painting. It's one of the ones that I own. It sits behind our bed. And I just saw it when shortly after he made it, and I just fell in love with it. So I picked it to be one to write a poem for. And it was probably the hardest one to write a poem for because I just couldn't. I remember walking around the neighborhood day in and day out trying to think of how to portray these two characters. And finally, it came to me. And so there are several voices in this as well. Most of the voices have to do with religious characters in Hinduism and Christianity and Judaism. But my two characters sort of they're inclusive characters. Okay, so I will recite this poem. His Lordship beginning and Her Majesty end, created a straight line, then coaxed it to bend. Soon animals paraded across it and down as we watched in amazement from our tiny town. The rhino two-stepped nice and slow, while the turtles trotted two to a row. The goose waddled tip-tippily, and the reindeer sidled dip-dippily. The rabbits hopped so hippity-hoppity, and the dodo flapped quite flippity-floppity. The flying fish soon took to the sky, while all we could say was, oh my, oh my. Then they sprinkled some stardust and essence of noon. They breathed a great wind gust that reached to the moon, when all of a sudden a rainbow was there, appearing from nowhere, just out of thin air. And from that day forward, if small feet are heard a-stompin', if the wind blows hard, if wild creatures go a-rompin', His Lordship beginning and Her Majesty end are surely making magic, so their rainbow will ascend high into the heavens for eager eyes to see, and we will be shouting with great cries of glee. So, His Lordship beginning and Her Majesty end. Oh, wait, maybe His Lordship beginning and Her Majesty end. I'm not quite sure which is which. So,
I had a question about that. That was delightful, by the way. How large is that painting that you said you have hanging in your
Behind our
red?
desk? Yeah, it's a good question. I am gonna say it's at least
About-
3 feet wide and maybe 2.5 feet deep.
You want me to go
Something like
measure it?
No, no, no.
No. But you get the idea. It's not a huge painting, but it's not a small one. You know, it's not like 1.5 feet by 2 feet or something. It's
Is that painted on wood also?
everything he does is painted on wood,
I
and
see.
it's original. So he did not
So you
make.
don't need frames.
You don't need frames. No, it's original oil paint, or no, I think acrylic on wood, preserved. And, you know, he didn't do what a lot of artists do, which is, you know, take this and make a print out of it and sell hundreds of them. He wasn't that kind of artist. He just was very prolific, and he'd paint a painting and he'd sell the painting. He did some cards with his he did sell like greeting cards. He took a picture of this, for example, and put it on a greeting card. He didn't put any words in it in the card. It was just, they were blank cards. But that's really the only thing he did. You know, there were two. I did notice a few of his work over the years. He would do 2 or 3 posters and sell them at his open studios. Oh, I don't know, for $40 or $50, but mostly he didn't do a large bit of work like that. It was his body of work is mostly original paintings, each one different, with similar, you know, characteristics. I love the eyes. I love the eyes here. Some people think this is kind of a scary painting for kids, but I don't know. I don't think so.
What kind of wood does he use? Do you know?
You know, that's a good question. I don't know. No, I'm sorry.
Awesome.
I don't really know. I can find out. Lisa would probably know, his wife, but I don't know that right off that. But okie doke. So now we're gonna go to another one that Dave is gonna help me with. You're getting a preview of all the. There are 18 paintings in this book. Oh dear, wait, I thought.
Wow, that's pretty.
There it is. Dave is going to help me with this. Now you see this painting? This is a very small painting. This is probably 1.5 by 2 feet. You know, it's quite small. I love the outline of the mountain there. Anyways, so this is actually the last poem I wrote. I found the painting at an open studios. Once when I was visiting him, I don't remember when. And I loved it. And my little 3-year-old grandson was so into these little things, and you know what they are. And so that was his Christmas present that year. And I read him this poem, and James loved it. And I laughed when I sent it to him, and I said, see, I can still write poems for your paintings. That was probably a year before he passed away. So anyways, there are 2 voices in this poem, a little boy and the grandpa. Toy train, boy train. Chugga, chugga, chugga.
Choo, choo, choo.
Chugga, chugga, chugga.
Where are you going to? Take us through a forest deep.
Before the moon comes out to sleep.
I've heard there's plenty things to see.
Chugga, chugga, choo, choo.
A wuzzy wazzy blue fox could be climbing up a tree.
Through the fertile valleys and up the snowy hills.
Past the silent spinning of the chugga windmills.
Chugga, choo, chugga, choo, chugga, choo, choo, choo.
You'll be the engine and I'll be the caboose. We'll take along a Christmas goose.
Chugga, chugga, choo, choo.
We'll gather close a pup named Moose.
Choo, 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 choo.
We'll offer gentle tickles and polish shiny nickels and nibble sweet green pickles. with our friend, the duck masseuse.
Chugga, 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 chugga.
Choo, choo, choo.
Shall we board a diesel train?
Or be propelled by steam. It matters not at all to me if we can dream our dream.
Chugga, 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 chugga.
Choo, choo, choo. Where will you go? What will you do?
Chugga, choo, chugga, choo.
Will you lead or will you follow? Oh, please don't in the mire wallow.
You say chew, and I say chugga, chugga.
Wrap those arms around me in a great big hugger.
Okay.
That's wonderful.
Mm, yes. My grandson, now he has a brother, and this painting worked even better for his brother than it did for for the first one. They
I'll bet they
love-
react really well to the poems too.
Well, when I read, I don't read it to them that often, but the few times I have, it's in there. I said I bought this painting, then I wrote the poem, and it's in their bedroom, and they see it every day. So,
Very good.
Nice.
let's see. So I have a couple more. Are there any other questions, or should I move on?
Trish, did you get this published locally? Was it a difficult thing to do, or?
Well, what was difficult was getting all these paintings on the right size paper, layout, and my son-in-law helped me do all the layout, and he picked out all the fonts and made sure it all, he like, for example, his expertise is such that he could, cut this and paste it there, that kind of thing. So that took a while, having my son-in-law fix this all together for me. Then I found a printer in town. I wanted to stay local, and I found a printer in town. I thought, I could have spent more time finding a publisher that would publish in maybe larger numbers and have a distribution set up and everything, but I didn't really want to take the time to do that. So I was able to do this on my own at Community Printers. They did a wonderful job. I picked out the size of the paper, and I wanted it oversized, which it's quite a large book. I'll hold it up before we're done so you can sort of see the real book, what it looks like. So that I wanted it oversized so people could, be reading this poem, for example, and hold up the picture to a small audience or whatever, or in bed, reading at bedtime. Or it's not just a book for children, but I like to say it's a book you want to share with children, because as you read this poem, it really gives the person listening to the poem, the ability to look at the painting in different ways and pick out all the little facets and the features of the painting. The little animal on the moon, and the stars out. And I mean, it just helps the person appreciate the art. And I have a friend who has the book. She got the book, and she's an artist, and she told me, she saw me one day, she said, Trish, I just want you to know that your poems really helped me see those paintings so well. So that's kind of how I like to describe the book. It's a book to share paintings and the appreciation of art with young people, anybody, really. Okay.
Trish, is there a copy of your book at the public library?
I plan to give one or maybe two copies of the books to every library in Santa Cruz County, but I have not done that, but there definitely will be. And right now it's for sale at Bookshop Santa Cruz and Zinnia's. You can order it online at Bookshop Santa Cruz and either pick it up or have them mail it to you, or you can drop down at Zinnia's. There's 3 or 4 other stores in town also that are selling it, but I just haven't gotten around to making that drive and talking to the librarians and things, but I do plan to donate actually the book to every library in Santa Cruz County. So,
That's great.
Right.
Could I
Yes,
ask you what you sell it
yeah.
for?
yes, Bookshop is selling it for $32.95.
Great.
That's the deal.
Okay, so got a couple more for you here. We're gonna go back up and you can see some of the other paintings and in the book. While I find the one I want to read to you, which is this one. So this poem is, I use the same name as James gave to the painting. It's called Newborn. There's only one voice in this poem, the mother. Tiny body lying next to mine, holding me with love more blind than any other lover. Peace comes, asleep and still, limp against my skin at last. Unknown till now, your beauty, breathing, brilliant, cast a spell on me. I can gaze at you for hours. New soul, sucking sweetly your life from mine, so keen to be alive. You can drink from me for hours. Our delight in one another is love's gift. As I sing my lullaby, little one, can you see? You have given birth to me.
Mm.
Okay. I have to
Very nice.
confess that this poem I wrote for my firstborn son. It was probably one of the first poems I ever wrote. And when I saw this painting of James's, I said, hey, I got one already. I don't have to think about that one.
Very good.
I did expand on it. I added a few words and I sort of improved on the poem. It had been sitting in my coffers for 30 years, but you know, it's basically the same poem I wrote for my newborn.
The painting makes me think of Frida Kahlo.
You know, that's what John D. Gumps loved this also. She mentioned this to me when I gave her the book, and she wrote a very nice article about the book in the Valley Times. But she thought Frida Kahlo as well. I'm not quite so sure, but you're not the first one to say it, so there's got to be some merit to it there. I don't want to think James was copying anybody else's style, because to me, he had his very own unique style. Okay, so one more. We'll go down to the last poem and painting in the book, and that's where we'll end. All right, Riverwalk. There are several characters here. They're all teachers. And I have to say, I have been every one of these teachers. So. On red-sunned, saffroned, sultry days and starlit evenings mild, go walking down the river path and be once more a child. Move stealthily and quiet. Listen to the froggies croak. Take care not to disturb them. What passions they evoke. The birds will chant in unison, always quick to entertain. Quacking, crowing, cawing with their raucous, shrill refrain. Countless creatures you'll encounter there, snakes and skunks and salamanders. Don't run from them, you need not fear. Stay to your path as it meanders. Perhaps you'll pass an ancient tree growing tall upon the bank. Rest your weary legs beneath its shade, but remember who to thank. Hold dear to where you've come from on journeys not today's. Consider where you're going next, trails ahead, still cloaked in haze. From the river passing gently by, springs an endless stream of mystery, etching patterns on the riverbed, witness to its living history. As you search the silvered surging depths, two youths yearning to explore. Retrace those tripping, skipping steps. Turn your head toward home once more. So I invite you to somehow get a copy of my book and check out the other, what would that be? 13 paintings and poems. And well, no, I guess I read 7 or 8 of them. So 10 or 12 pictures and poems in the book. So I will go up to the first page, table of contents. I have a little discussion here about what art and poetry actually is, and my dedication. So I don't know if there's any other questions. I guess I can stop sharing the screen and go back to seeing you in person.
Well, Trish, this is
Yes.
Jack.
Yes.
I just want to say how hearing you and Dave read these it just communicates so much more than me just reading the poems silently. So thank you for presenting it. And it just, for me, it makes these pictures come alive.
Yeah, great. Well, it's, poetry is meant to be read alive. I mean, it's meant to be said. Certainly lyrical kind of poetry, there's music in the words, and it really, it's more than just the written word. A good poem, I think. So,
I
thank
like
you.
this picture, Trish, because it's got you with Aschbacher's mural in the background.
Yeah.
Where is that located?
The mural?
Yes.
That mural is on a side street off Pacific Garden Mall. It's like within the first block of Pacific Avenue to the right behind I think it's a Japanese restaurant. It's on a side street. Then he has another even larger one on Center Street. But this one is actually inside. It's part of Pacific, Garden Mall.
Did James paint those, or were they painted after his death?
Oh, no, James painted those. James painted many murals around town, besides this one and the other major one in downtown Santa Cruz. He painted some at schools. He used to, every year he would be at 1 or 2 or 3 schools, and he'd take the students together and he'd teach them how to do murals. And I think he did it quite a bit through the Pajaro Valley Arts Council. So yeah, so he was a muralist. Besides painting on wood, he painted on concrete.
Wow.
And
Did
often
James
his
have
wife would
children
help.
or grandchildren?
James did not have any children,
Oh,
but he got to meet many of my grandchildren and a couple of my children.
Good.
But no, as far as I know, he doesn't have any children, or therefore he doesn't have any grandchildren.
a delightful book. Delightful
I
pairing
think,
of your poetry with his paintings. Delightful pairing.
thank you. I kind of like to think of James's paintings as his children. His paintings as his children. They're going to live on after him, and that part of him is in them all, and they've all found good homes and had good lives.
Very good.
Great.
I'm hoping.
Well, you did justice to him.
Thank you. I'm hoping that all of this takes time, and I just got it published a couple of months ago, and then Christmas came along and everything, but I'm hoping, I've got my fingers crossed, I'm going to go to the art museum in downtown Santa Cruz, and I'm going to suggest to them that they should have a showing of his work. And I can get together many of his paintings. I think his wife has a list of people who bought his paintings and where they reside now. And I think it would be great to, in his honor, have a show of quite a bit of his work. And of course, we could have the book there as well. But he was a wonderful artist and was very, very prominent in the art scene in Santa Cruz. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he was the impetus behind the first open studios in Santa Cruz County. Getting that together, up and running. He did that for years. You know, he was not an artist all his life. He used to own what's it called? Atlantis, that's right.
Co-owner.
He was a co-owner, and he sold to his partner and started just being a painter, an artist. Yes, and his partner is Joe Farrar, who I happened to go to college with. And remember, we met a few times around town, but when James told me who his partner was one day, I just was like, really? I used to sponsor him in a coffee shop at Santa Clara, and he'd come and play his guitar, and I was the one that arranging all the talent, you know, so I knew him fairly well.
No, interesting story.
Yeah, small world.
Yep, small world. So,
Trish,
well,
this has been fascinating. Thank you so
Well,
much, and I
thank you
really
for
enjoyed
having
the
me.
readings.
I enjoyed myself
Yeah.
as well, and thanks for inviting me. And I will see what's on the next docket for the Senior Life Center.
Yeah, well, February 7th is
And,
coming up. George, you want to tell us about that?